It's the Hot Stove presented by the Cup of Mets podcast. I'm Ian Bosniak, joined alongside by Matty DeSantis as always. And Matt, we've got about 2 weeks until pitchers and catchers report to spring training. Crazy how the winter has flown, but we're almost there, man. How we feeling?
Oh man, I can't wait. I just can't wait to see the boys down in Florida. It signals warm weather's on the way, baseball's on the way, and us getting to the ballparks in the near distance.
I know, dude, and you mentioned the warm weather. I'm gonna try to get down. I was gonna mention it too. I'm gonna try to get down to Florida at some point. I think in February. My baseball season starts in March. I coach, so I'm gonna try to do it at some point in February. Maybe we can
I
coordinate on.
looked, those tickets look nuts. It's almost better off finding them. I saw it's like better off finding them on like the West Coast when they're in like Fort Myers playing Boston.
I was also thinking the flights down to Orlando are pretty cheap. You could fly down to Orlando, rent a car, and drive south.
Or I heard that there's actually like a high speed rail that goes from Orlando to what is it? Not Fort Lauderdale.
Regardless, you need a car
West
around
Palm.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
you need a car around the Port St. Lucie area. So I did that my first couple of years down. The amount of steps, I mean, Apple Watches didn't exist then, but I can only imagine how many steps I actually took. It's
Oh, I'm sure. I mean,
probably,
I wouldn't mind some steps outside in the warm weather right about now.
I know, and our buddy Ronald Hernandez would probably hook us up down there. We could get
Yeah.
down, schmooze
Oh
with the
yeah.
boys, you know.
Yep.
But
Can't
yeah,
wait to
bro.
see him. We gotta. That's another thing we gotta plan. Our
And
Brooklyn Cyclones Saturday trip.
I know a Cyclones outing.
We
Cyclones
got and
outing.
we gotta go early, April.
Absolutely. Earlier the better. And we're almost there. But just some quick notes off the bat. Since we last spoke, the Hall of Fame announcements have come out regarding induction, and three players were inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Not unanimously, 99.7%, I believe it was. Ichiro Suzuki, whoever the writer was that left him off. Shame. He's
Mark
just,
Gooden.
yeah, bro. Mark Gooden. Dude, he still has one of the best Twitter accounts out there, and the amount of people that take him seriously.
Well, his account got nuked. I think he's at a new account now.
Oh, well, hopefully he's keeping it going. I don't know if he's writing for the Federalist anymore or he's
Oh yeah, it's always the
yeah.
Federalist.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah, dude, but yeah, Ichiro inducted, CC Sabathia inducted, and I think that we've gotten to the point where I always looked at CC and I said he's a Hall of Famer, but I don't know if he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think the standards have just absolutely changed with starting
Yeah.
pitchers, so he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, well deserved. And then last but not least, on his 10th and final try, our boy Billy Wagner finally gets in, and he got in 82.5%. So did rather well. Such an incredible career by Billy Wagner over the course of 15 seasons. 231 ERA, 273 FIP. And one of the most remarkable things that really stood out to me was reliever. Again, 853 games, 903 innings. He struck out 1,196 batters.
Yeah, no, Billy was very good. I was sitting at my desk last week and I heard someone say, uh, someone was like, Billy Wagner got into the Hall of Fame. Like, what a fucking joke that's become. And I was like, what?
Dude, listen, bro, you look at some of his early numbers with the Astros, he was unreal, and he had two or three really, really solid seasons for the Mets as well, was good as a Philly, and obviously capped off an incredible career with the Braves. He honestly could have kept on pitching if he wanted to. But
Yeah.
again, well deserved. And I think the closers as well are going to start not necessarily getting more recognition, but the guys that not only are able to lock down the games, but show longevity in their career. I think, especially if you hit like the 400 save threshold, I think you might get there. We've seen Lee Smith, Trevor Hoffman, and so on. So, again, congrats to Billy Wagner. And our buddy, my favorite player of all time, Carlos Beltran, fell just short, a little over 70%. It looks like next winter will be his year to get inducted. And it may just be him because the upcoming ballot is really, really weak. It's actually disgusting. I think Ryan Braun's the best player.
Mm,
But I'm headed up to Cooperstown for that induction ceremony. I can't miss Beltran. And that 15 is going to go up in the Raptors as well.
yeah, man. I love Beltron. Great player, great person.
He's also said that he was wanted to go in with a Mets cap. So that would
Love
be,
that.
yeah, that would be a third Met to go in down in the orange and blue. But nonetheless, congrats to Billy Wagner, Ichiro, and CC. Enough with the Hall of Fame talk. Don't have to worry about that for another year. Currently, with the New York Mets, they had what's called the Amazing Day Fan Fest. It was absolutely nuts the other day. We didn't go, but I almost felt like I was there from all of the footage that I saw. So interactive. Every player from Drew Gilbert to Francisco Lindor was there. Everyone in between. I think the only guys that weren't able to make it were Juan Soto, Huascar Brazaban, and one other player. I think they got maybe Jose Siri. I think they got stuck in the Dominican Republic and the flight got canceled or something along those lines. But looked
Hmm.
awesome. But within that, it was very transparent on a number of levels, and we're going to talk about the main topic of this episode in a little bit. But we did get some injury updates on some key players. Brandon Nimmo, who dealt with plantar fasciitis, missed some games towards the end of the season. This in 2024, he's hopeful and expected to be ready for opening day. Again, he normally sits out the first several weeks in spring training anyway, so hopefully that continues to progress. AJ Minter, whose season ended with a hip surgery, he's expected to be ready by opening day. He says he feels good. I mean, he better be. We just spent 11 million bucks on him per year.
Literally.
Yep. Kodai Senga, who only made one start last year, made a couple appearances in the playoffs. You know, he was dealing with the calf, also the trap. He's doing well in Japan. Actually, Jeremy Hefner went and was there last week. They said that he's throwing off a mound. He feels good, and they're hopeful that he'll be ready to pitch at some point in spring training and then into the regular season. Ronnie Mauricio, and these are kind of like the two players that are iffy at the moment. Ronnie Mauricio, he missed all of last season with the knee injury, blew out his ACL. He's progressing very slowly, jogging a little bit, and they're going to take their time with him. The Mets obviously have a multitude of options, even if Pete Alonso leaves. So again, Mauricio progressing slowly, and then lastly, Daniel Nunez, who is major cog in that bullpen. He's throwing lightly. Again, he had the forearm issue, so definitely something to keep an eye on when it comes to the Mets bullpen, which we know it got stronger this past offseason, but still needs a little bit more help. Daniel Nunez could definitely fill the void there. So again, I mentioned Amazing Day. I want to talk about that as a whole because there were a couple things. First off, it looked sick. I mentioned shit ton of players were there, former players, current players. They also introduced some new road jerseys. They I want your opinion first. What do you think of the new jerseys?
I mean, I don't think that they're bad. I also don't think that they're really good. I think it's kind like from afar, it might be hard to see people like players' last names.
All right. What else?
I don't know, bro.
Okay.
I don't go out and fucking win baseball games. I don't give a shit what you wear. Wear a fucking pirate outfit for all I care.
Wear
Like
a pirate now.
seriously, like how many different uniforms do we need?
Yeah. All right. So you got a candid answer there. I mean, I like the jerseys. I don't know if you care that I like the jerseys, but
Yeah, I
I
can. I
I
like.
really
That's
I
good.
really dude, I really like the jerseys because several years back I mean there have been a few occasions where the Mets have donned the 86 pinstripes. It's only been on a few occasions, but this variation, if you haven't seen it, I mean, you've been living under a rock. It's been everywhere, but it's a blue jersey with orange lettering that says New York. It was designed after the 1987 road jersey that was gray. This one is blue. It has a collar. What the hell is it called? I was reading up on it before, like the terminology, a wishbone collar,
Yeah.
and it kind of does look like a wishbone. And then it's blue writing inside. I really think it's tremendous, and it's a throwover. The Mets will be only the third team to have a throwover jersey, joining the Washington Nationals and Somebody else. I don't. Some other shitty team. Watch the Nationals will end up kicking our ass this year. Yeah, now that I said that, but
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't know.
watch it.
I don't know who that was, but yeah, no, those jerseys were revealed. But the the biggest thing of the entire day, and no, it was not AJ Minter saying that the whole video of him over at Texas A&M get Minter up moving around. He came out and said that that wasn't actually him running to the bullpen, so that incredible video doesn't hold as much weight anymore. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Pete Alonso. And of course, you have a panel: Carlos Mendoza, David Stearns, and Steve Cohen.
Hey, and Gary.
And Gary Cohen. Okay.
He was a part of the he was running the panel.
Yeah. And
You
you
think these
could tell
guys are
that.
just talking to themselves?
No. No, that was me a couple weeks ago on the podcast. I was like talking to
Yeah,
myself for 40 minutes in a row. I was like out of words after that.
literally.
But dude, that was incredible. First and foremost, the re-sign Pete, or we want Pete, whatever they were saying, and they were chanting that they wanted Pete Alonso back. David Stearns did not take his face off of Gary Cohen. He just had the biggest grin and smile on his face, and more of like a, I'm not even really going to acknowledge this, even though he ended up acknowledging it. And then Steve Cohen gestured towards the fans to, calm down, relax, relax.
Yeah.
I think a big thing, and there were some quotes that I'll get to, but I think the big thing right now is it's pretty obvious we're always on the Mets side for the most part, right? But there's been a big conversation as to who's to blame for this whole debacle. Is it David Stearns and Steve Cohen, or is it Pete Alonso and Scott Boras? And obviously, you have those Mets fans that are critical of everything, that they're like, David Stearns is bringing his Milwaukee shit here and this, that, and the third. But it's so clear now. Scott Boras fucked Pete Alonso.
Oh, 100%.
Pete Alonso made a terrible decision by not only turning down the contract extension that the Mets offered him in 2023, but also firing his agent, then hiring Scott Boras. This is Michael Conforto 2.0.
Yeah. And he definitely made a really bad career move. He probably should have accepted that initial Mets offer.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Think about it. The Mets offer that they proposed to him just a couple weeks ago was 3 years at $23.6 million per year. That other deal that he turned down was for 4 more guaranteed years,
Yeah.
just for $1 million less per year. He screwed himself. He screwed himself.
Mhm.
And the reports are coming in that, we spoke last week about how a divorce appeared inevitable, according to multiple reporters, and just kind of reading in between the lines and seeing how everything's been going on. But we've heard reports now, especially earlier today, from Andy Martino, who reported that the team that's been most closely associated with Alonso outside of the Mets have been the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays don't seem like they're going to offer anything, not anything, but they're not going to leap the Mets offer. So that offer that the Mets proposed to Pete and he rejected might be the best that he's going to see. And Martino's reporting this may drag through spring training, not only with the Mets, but him himself.
Yeah, he's really fucked himself good, and Scott is definitely Scott's like and he is the best agent on the planet. He's a super agent, but I mean, he fucked Pete over good.
I I feel as if he's really, really good for certain players. If you're on that tier of,
Superstar.
like, yes, but if you're in that other tier where you still have something to prove, but you have a name and you're trying to get that massive deal, think Jordan Montgomery, think Pete Alonso, think Blake Snell last year. You know, there are several instances where you've seen this play out, and I really don't know right now. I mean, I guess the report earlier today that the Blue Jays probably won't outbid the Mets gives us some hope, right?
Yeah.
But it's also something where you look at Pete and you just say he screwed himself. And these quotes, I personally loved it. I don't know how you felt about it. I thought that they were candid, transparent, and you don't really hear owners talking like this. But what he said was, in quotes, "We made a significant offer to Pete. However, I don't like the structures that are being presented back to us. I think it's highly asymmetric against us, and I feel strongly about it. I will never say no, There's always wow, that was a tongue twister. I will never say no. There's always the possibility of an agreement. But the reality is we are moving forward. And as we continue to bring in players, the reality is it becomes harder to fit Pete into what is a very expensive group of players that we already have. And that's where we are. And I am being brutally honest. I don't like the negotiations. I don't like what's been presented to us. Listen, maybe that changes. And certainly I'll always stay flexible. If it stays this way, I think we are going to have to get used to the fact that we may have to go forward with the existing players that we have.
Yeah.
People were calling him cheap after that. I don't get it.
Fucking losers, bro.
Bro,
Absolute losers.
we put out a nice tweet just saying that was fantastic. Owners don't give it to you like it is, but Steve Cohen's a businessman at the end of the day. So he says how it is. And some fans again said that it was him being cheap, but if he's not getting these offers from other teams, and I think you've mentioned it before, if he hasn't signed already this 5, 6 year deal or whatever with the Blue Jays or the Giants or the Angels, you have to think that he's not getting these offers. We
No,
haven't heard
no,
we haven't dude, we haven't heard any other team outside of the Jays that have made an offer.
no. He's not getting it.
He's not getting it. He's not getting it. And then, you have the public pissing match. This is essentially what it is. It was a public pissing match between Steve Cohen and Scott Boras. Scott Boras then replied with Pete's free agent contract structure requests are identical to the standards and practices of other clubs who have signed similarly situated qualifying offer all-star level players. The only other thing that I can think of was there was a report that if he does opt out of these certain opt outs within the contract, that the Mets would owe him more money. I don't know about you, but that's fine with me. A lot of players have that. Cody Bellinger has that as well. It's a buyout,
Yeah, literally. That's what it is.
and I doubt that David Stearns is going about these negotiations in just a tunnel vision fashion. I guarantee you he's trying to get creative in order to make this work. But Scott Boras and Pete Alonso have a different standard for themselves right now, and the reality doesn't meet who he really is as a player. And I do agree with what Martino said earlier, even though I don't like him. I think that this drags into spring training. I hope it doesn't drag into the season. I would like to know, but I also think that the Mets are keen on not only moving forward, but maybe feeling set when it comes to the internal pieces that they're going to position if Alonso does depart. So that comes with Beatty and Acuna and Mauricio whenever he gets healthy. I think the Mets really do want to figure out, hey, is Vientos moving over to first? Because we also heard about that Brett Beatty mentioned Adam Day. He was also there. He said that he's been playing a little bit of first. So
Yeah.
players are getting used to this.
Yeah, well, that's what might be happening. So I don't know why people aren't like getting ready for this outcome.
Yeah, I know. But I
I'm tired of the situation. I'm tired of talking about Pete Alonso. Just end it. Like sign or go.
dude, I would love to go
So much
back.
bullshit speculation.
I would love to go back. I mean, granted, I think we've only churned out 12, 13 hot stove episodes this off season, maybe, but I would love to see how many times we've mentioned Pete Alonso's fucking name.
Many.
Between him and Scott Boras, it has to be north of 150, 200.
Definitely. Probably somewhere around there.
It's a shame. It's a shame. Jackass is holding up the entire winter, but you know, thankfully baseball's right
And
around the corner.
got
I mean,
Soto.
yeah, yeah. And isn't it funny how you could, even though they say that the negotiations with Soto were tough, isn't it funny how you can go from shaking hands and being buddy buddy with Scott Boras
Yeah,
up
it's
on stage,
crazy.
inking the deal, and then all of a sudden they come they're in a public pissing war at impasse when it comes to negotiations. Like it's just so
Boris is being very careful because he knows fucking not many. There's about 4 or 5 owners that'll go to the extent of money as Steve Cohen.
yeah, he's also
So
he's also just a prick.
nothing you
But
can.
I mean, listen, he's also trying to get his dollar, so I get it. But let's let's wrap this shit up because I agree. I'm beyond tired of this. Now, something that we brought up last week, and I also didn't mention this from the outset. I don't know why, but tonight marks the beginning of our top tens at each position. We're going to go around the diamond. Tonight, we're going to start at catcher. But before we get there, I do want to mention something that we spoke about last week towards the back end of the episode. And it's been reported as of recent that the Mets are eyeing both, and I would assume that this is if Alonso does not resign. But the Mets are entertaining the idea of potentially bringing in Jack Flaherty or potentially Nick Pivetta. And then on top of that, there was another report that the Mets are looking at the relief market and might try to obtain the services of a Kenley Jansen or a David Robertson. But if they sign a Pete Alonso, they might go for a Ryne Stanek, bring him back, or a Jalen Beek, someone along those lines. First, on the starting pitching front, how would you feel about the Mets if they do fall flat on their face when it comes to Alonso turning around and then giving Flaherty a 2 or 3 year deal,
I
put
would
him
love it.
atop your rotation with Minaya and Senga?
I would love it because our rotation's a shit ton of question marks, so at least you know what you're getting from him.
Right. And someone who's been oft injured in his career, he started 28 games last year. He's projected via Fangraphs or the Steamer, I don't know, Fangraphs. 29 games started in 2025, tossing 170 innings, striking out batters at a 25.2% clip, 384 ERA, 384 FIP. I've never seen those identical, but putting up a 2.6 WAR. I'm pretty sure that would be second or third amongst the Mets starters when it comes to projected WAR in 2025. So obviously that would be a massive lift for the rotation. I'm not as sold on Nick Pivetta. I know that strikeout pitcher, good arm, but at the end of the day, he also has a qualifying offer attached to him. The only way that I would sign him is if he ends up not inking with a club until the season starts and I whatever deadline that is where the qualifying offer then is taken away,
Hmm.
then I would sign him. That would be my only,
Yeah, that's the only
idea
way I'd
there.
sign him too.
But last year Pavetta started 26 games, 407 FIP, 2 WAR. He's projected to post a 2.5 WAR this upcoming season, striking out batters at a 27% clip. So to me, that's music to the ears, especially, I mean, granted, I want Pete back first and foremost. So if Pete doesn't come back, then it looks like maybe one of these guys will hop on. That would definitely make the rotation much deeper. I agree with you. It's full of question marks right now. When it comes to the bullpen, again, I mentioned Kenley Jansen. I mentioned David Robertson, Jalen Beeks, Ryne Stanek. There are a few other names out there. Carlos Estevez still hasn't signed. But what's your take on the current bullpen? You're looking at a 7 man as it's situated right now. Edwin Diaz, AJ Minter, Jose Budo, Reed Garrett, Sean Reed Foley, Danny Young, and Griffin Canning. That's projected with Daniel Nunez starting on the IL. You have some internal pieces: Miguel Brazabon, Dylan Covey, Kranick, Austin Warren, Kevin Herget, Genesis Cabrera, and Chris Davinsky. Do you think that it's of the utmost importance to bring in David Robertson? You would be looking at a bullpen of Diaz, Minter, Robertson, or Jansen, Garrett, Reed Foley, Budo and Canning. I mean, to me, that's a deep bullpen.
I mean, yeah, it's deep. It would be nice. I also I think the first base situation has to play out, but I would also probably at this point rather go the resources for Flaherty, get a better starting pitcher.
So you're comfortable with the Mets rotate with the Mets bullpen
I
as
would bring
well
back
as the
Stanek.
so you would go if you miss out on Pete Alonso, are you going just Jack Flaherty or are you going to try to get Jack Flaherty and another bullpen arm, obviously of a lesser status than a Jansen or Robertson, kind of like a Stanek, like you just said? Is that the
Yeah,
way that you would go?
yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that's the best idea. If they're not able to bring in a Jack Flaherty, I wouldn't go ahead and spend the money on Nick Pivetta. I'd probably roll with your rotation and then bring in a Kenley Jansen or Dave Robertson on a $10 million deal, something along those lines, really fortify the bullpen. But I agree with you, everything you said. Let's get the first base situation situated, whether it be Pete Alonso or an internal maneuver there. Then say, all right, if it's internal, let's allocate the rest of our resources elsewhere. If it's Alonso, maybe sign another bullpen arm, and away we go. Alrighty, so to me, Matt, this is one of my favorite times of the year. I
Hmm.
think last year we started it in February, but since the hot stove's been so cold for the entirety, ever since Juan Soto signed and they had the Montes Holmes moves, the offseason has been slow as shit, and it's been the Pete Alonso show. So we're going to start this top 10 right now a little bit earlier. Okay. Here on January 28th. Again, as I mentioned before, we're going to start with the catchers. And Robbie, who is not here, he's currently south of the border down in Mexico.
Yeehaw.
Yep. Good luck. Stay within the confines of your resort. But he shot over his top 10. He wanted me to relay it to y'all. So here we go. Rob Venegas' top 10 catchers entering the 2025 season. First, Adley Rushman of the Baltimore Orioles. Second, Will Smith of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Third, William Contreras of the Milwaukee Brewers. Fourth, JT Realmuto of the Philadelphia Phillies. Five, Cal Raleigh of the Seattle Mariners. Six, Yainer Diaz from the Houston Astros. Seven, Alejandro Kirk from the Toronto Blue Jays. Eight, Gabriel Moreno from the Arizona Diamondbacks. Nine, Austin Wells from the New York Yankees. And 10, he showed some love to our very own Francisco Alvarez, rounding out his top 10.
Damn. Me and his are kind of close in some ways.
All right, well, you take it away so I could stop talking for a sec.
All right. So at one, I had Adley. I think he's gonna have a big year this year. Two, William Contreras. Three, Will Smith. Four, JT Realmuto. Five, Sean Murphy. Six, Yainer Diaz. Seven, Gabriel Moreno. Eight, Cal Raleigh. Nine, Alejandro Kirk. And 10 is where I showed some love to Alvy.
Wow, am I going to be the only asshole here?
Why?
Not showing love to Francisco?
Oh, to Alvy.
Yeah, I'm trying to be, dude, I'm trying to be, you know, bipartisan here. Number one, I have William Contreras. I think that he cemented himself last year, and until we see a full, really, really, really strong campaign from Adley Rushman, again, he's been fantastic his first two full seasons. Again, Contreras just has that edge right now. William Contreras one, Adley Rushman two, Cal Raleigh continues to impress. He's number three for me with the Seattle Mariners. Four, we got Will Smith. Five, JT Realmuto. I've seen a lot of lists from major outlets that JT Realmuto has fallen like seven, eight, nine. And some of the projections, he's projected, I think, to be like the 16th or 17th best catcher in baseball
Really?
this year, war wise. And I think the Phillies might address that as well. I think they may move him off of catcher at some points.
I think this is the last year of his contract.
Yeah, I think they're going to be a little careful with him as he's getting up there in age. But nonetheless, I'll stop talking about JT. He's that number five. Six, Yainer Diaz, Astros. Seven, I got the new Mets masher. I don't know if you noticed it this past year, but anytime Shea Langoliers came up with the Oakland Athletics, he hit a fucking home run. and it was always at the most inopportune times. He's got a power bat,
Yeah, he's good.
plays great defense. Over in Ocamento, so Shea Langoliers is at number 7. Gabriel Moreno is at number 8. 9 is Sean Murphy. I pushed him back. Him and the Braves can kick rocks. And then 10, I have Alejandro Kirk with the Blue Jays.
All
So
right.
again, I had Francisco Alvarez just falling short. One other guy that I really wanted to include was Patrick Bailey from the San Francisco Giants. He really impressed me last year, but I decided to hold off on him. So, with that being said, episodes in the book. Hopefully next time. And again, I say this every fucking week now. Hopefully we have a
At this
resolution.
point, just don't even say something different because then we'll have a different. Nah, bro, you had a dream, right?
Oh yeah, dude, I did. That was crazy. And that gained so much steam on X. I
Yeah.
literally woke up and I was like, shit, I gotta tweet this. But yeah, no, I had a dream the other night. I had a dream the other night that Pete Alonso re-signed with the Mets, and I was watching the press conference on my phone, and then I woke up. So I don't know, but I think it was a dream that I had between like the snoozing time, like when the alarm rings, fuck
Yeah.
this, hit the
So it's
snooze button.
fresh.
Yeah, yeah, it was
It was
fresh in my
fresh.
mind. So I went to work saying, "Oh yeah, by the way, he's gonna, resign." Telling everyone, they're like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I'm like, "I had a
Yeah.
dream." But, yeah. So I won't say that. Hopefully, we don't have a resolution on the Pete Alonso situation by the next time we talk. We'll try to switch things up. Maddie, got anything else for us?
No. Hopefully we don't, like you said, hopefully we don't have a resolution on the Alonso situation.
Yeah, Alonso, hold out until the regular
Yeah.
season starts, dude. Do whatever you want, man. Fingers crossed that he
Well,
signs soon.
and then maybe someone else would be interested, like you said, if that
Qualifying offer.
qualifying offer goes away.
Yeah. Well,
I
hopefully it
know
doesn't
that
get
keeps a lot of cheap fucks like the Boston Red Sox away.
100%. Yeah. Well, listen, hopefully it doesn't get to that point.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna try to speak anything into existence because it hasn't fucking happened yet. All I can say is baseball can't come soon enough. I love talking hot stove baseball, but this has been a draining winter. There's been either something crazy going on or nothing going on at all. So I'm ready to get the shit wrapped up and get into some regular season ball. And we're so close to some spring training games. It's so
No, I can't
very
wait. I
exciting.
can't wait
Oh,
to just pop open a beer and just watch some spring training.
I know, dude. We're days away. We're
Yeah,
days away.
for sure.
With that being said, give us a follow on Instagram, YouTube, and X. We are at Cup of Mets. Subscribe to the podcast, whether it be on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Download that SeatGeek app. Punch and code Cup of Mets at first purchase to get $20 off. And last but not least, head over to smackandsunflowerseeds.com. Punch in code Ian05405 to get 10% off of any purchase. And for Matty DeSantis, feel better, bud. I'm Ian Bosniak. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you in a few days, guys. Good night. Let's go, Mets.